Are you tired of striving for perfection, only to feel stuck, overwhelmed, and constantly dissatisfied with your efforts? What if the secret to unlocking your highest potential isn't in chasing perfection, but in embracing the power of excellence? In this webinar, you'll discover how perfectionism might be holding you back and learn actionable steps to break free, reignite your creativity, and thrive. Whether you're a writer, an entrepreneur, or simply someone ready to step into your next level, it's time to let go of the weight of perfection and start achieving your goals with confidence. Are you ready? Let's dive in. All right. The title of today's webinar is Excellence over Perfectionism, and our goal today is to help you break free from the trap of perfectionism and set you on the path to progress and continuous growth. Before we dive deeper, let me introduce myself. My name is Rafatu Salifo Adam, and I'm a writing growth strategist from Nigeria. I help writers achieve their goals, overcome obstacles, and grow in their craft. This webinar is proudly sponsored by the Enlightened Writers Movement, a platform I created to empower writers to craft their work with insight, excellence, and a focus on making meaningful impact in the world. However, this webinar is not strictly for writers. The insights we will be sharing today can benefit anyone, regardless of your career or background. That being said, let's dive into understanding perfectionism and how it affects us, not just as professionals, but as people. So, what exactly is perfectionism? Why does it feel so suffocating? Well, perfectionism isn't about doing your best like you might think. Perfectionism is setting impossible standards, striving for flawlessness, and fearing failure. Perfectionism creates a cycle of stress, self doubt, and procrastination. The harder you try to get everything right, the more paralyzed you feel. I know this because I've lived it. I used to believe that if something wasn't perfect, it wasn't worth the doing. It kept me stuck, kept me anxious and unable to move forward. But once I recognized this pattern, everything changed. And that's what I'm here to share with you today. But first, let's see where you stand. Are you ready to find out how much of a perfectionist you really are? Here is a quick test to give you some clarity. Grab a pen and paper or just keep track in your mind. For each statement, rate yourself. So if the statement is true all the time, then you get to score yourself a 4. If it's true often, then you get to score yourself a 3. And if it's true just sometimes, then score yourself a 2. And if it's not really your thing or if it's not really related to you, then score yourself a 1. So the first statement, mistakes, yours or other people's mistakes irritate you. So what score would you get on that? You feel everyone should be as driven to do their best as you are. You often say, I should have, or we should. You find it hard to enjoy success because you're quick to see what could have been better. One small mistake can ruin your day, or at least your morning. Terms like good enough or just about right bother you, especially at work. You put things off because you feel you're not fully ready to get it right. You apologize for not doing better, even if no one complained. In group settings, you prefer to have control over what's happening. You tend to focus on what's missing instead of what is already there. Now, total your score. If you got 0 to 22, you're not much of a perfectionist. I'm guessing this session might just give you some new insights, but yeah, that'll just be it. there'll be no real need for change. So if you get 23 to 27, you're a mild perfectionist. If you get 28 to 36, you're a medium perfectionist. And if you get 37 to 44, you are an extreme perfectionist. And it's time to take a step back and find freedom. So where do you fall in? Share your score in the chat. And if you're surprised or even a little bit uncomfortable with your score, don't worry. By the end of this session, you'll be able to have the tools to make a change. But before we dive into solutions, I'll share my own journey with perfectionism and how it scarred me. Let me take you back to a moment that shaped how I viewed efforts, failure, and success. It happened when I was in elementary school, that's nursery school. At that time, I was consistently getting second or third place in class. It wasn't bad. But when I'd bring my report card home, my father would say something like, "Why are you not getting first place like your older brother and your younger sister?" I know parents often say things like this to motivate their children, but those words left a mark on my young heart. So I took them seriously. Determined to prove myself, I decided to do my absolute best that next term. So I studied hard, harder than ever before, doing everything I knew how to do at that tender age. Finally, the results came in. I held my breath, and as I looked at my report card, there it was. I had dropped to 10th place. 10th. I felt defeated. I felt confused. And at that moment, I made a decision. Maybe I'm just a fool. Maybe no matter how hard I try, I'll never be good enough. So even if I try, that's what's going to happen. So why even bother trying at all? For many years, I stopped putting in real effort. I stopped studying consistently. The only time I would pick up my books was a few days or sometimes just a day before the exams. It became a pattern, a defense mechanism. Do you see it? Do you understand? I didn't want to feel like a failure, so I created a scenario where I could always explain away my poor performance. So if I didn't do well, I would just tell myself it's not because I'm stupid. It's just because I didn't study in time. That's why. So I protected my pride, but I also sabotaged my potential. Funny enough, I've never failed a course or repeated a class. Yet perfectionism kept me stuck in a cycle of procrastination and fear, convincing me that anything less than perfect was not worth pursuing. I became what Dr. Kevin Lehman calls a procrastinating perfectionist. Kevin Lehman is one of my favorite psychologists to to listen to. I love reading his books and all of that, and I recommend him to you also. You know, a procrastinating perfectionist is that type that waits for the perfect moment, that wants to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect idea before taking action. In reality, I was just paralyzed by the fear of failing or worse, not being enough, even if I tried. So let's dive into how this mindset plays out and why it is so destructive. One common trait among perfectionists is procrastination. We delay tasks because our expectations are so high that they terrify us, so high that we become immovable, almost immovable. We tell ourselves, if I don't have the time to do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. And so we stall. Then we rush through at the very last minute and feel disappointed with the results. Sound familiar? My or let me say, we procrastinate because we are protecting ourselves. It's easier to blame a lack of time than admit we are afraid of falling short. But here's the truth: Perfectionism isn't protecting you in any way, it is just holding you back. So, how do we break free? Stick with me because we are about to get practical. If you're ready to overcome perfectionism, here's what you can do. Number one, embrace imperfection. You know, overcoming perfectionism is a process that requires a lot of self awareness and intentional habits. One thing that is really helpful to me is embracing imperfection. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you admitted to making a mistake? I know it can be really tough. I know it can be really tough to say, I'm sorry or I was wrong, but doing so can be incredibly liberating. It's like a weight that has been lifted off your shoulders. And here's the thing, admitting mistakes doesn't make you weak, it only makes you real. It shows that you're willing to be vulnerable and take responsibility for your actions. Number two, set realistic limits. As you start to get more comfortable with imperfection, you also need to think about setting realistic limits. I'm talking about giving yourself deadlines for projects and sticking to them, sticking to those deadlines. When the time is up, you accept the result and move on. It's not always easy, but remember, done is better than perfect. I mean, would you rather spend hours tweaking something until it is just right? Or would you rather get it done and move on to the next thing? Sometimes, I want you to remember this. Sometimes good enough really is good enough. Number three, change your inner dialogue. Because even with these tips in place, it's still easy to get caught up in negative self talk. That's why it's important to change your inner dialogue. Instead of beating yourself up over mistakes or perceived shortcomings, remind yourself of your uniqueness. Tell yourself, I have unique gifts and I don't need to be perfect to make an impact in the world. It's amazing how much of a difference this can make because that's the truth. You don't need to be perfect to make an impact. I'm right here trying to make an impact in your life by what I'm saying, but I'm definitely not perfect. I'm not perfect in this excellence work, right? But I'm still trying to make an impact in your own life. So when you focus on your strengths and what you can bring to the table, you start to see yourself in a whole new light. Number four, prioritize and commit. See, I want to leave you with one final thought. If you're someone who tends to take on too much, it's time to reassess your commitments. Stop saying yes to everything. Please stop saying yes to everything. Instead, prioritize. Focus on one project at a time and finish it before making or moving on to the next one. Learn to say no to non-essential tasks and remember you can't do it all on your own. Sometimes you just need help. And trying to do it all on your own only leads to burnout. So find a way to delegate. What if you can find someone that can do an aspect of the project that doesn't really need your own input that much, then find someone to delegate it to. By prioritizing and focusing on what truly matters, you will find a sense of freedom and clarity that is hard to come by in this increasingly busy world that we live in. These steps may seem simple, but they can work wonders for those who struggle with overcoming, procrastination, for those who struggle with overcommitting. Now, take a moment to imagine this. What if you could break free from the grip of perfectionism and step boldly into your potential? Because we just spoke about breaking free from perfectionism. Now I want to take you a step further. What if instead of waiting for everything to be just perfect, you started making real progress, one step at a time? Stick with me.
as we dive into the process of excellence and uncover the steps that will help you rise above mediocrity and step into your best, your very best self. But before we explore the practical steps, let's establish a clear understanding of what excellence truly means. Excellence is about rising above where you are right now, rising above mediocrity, rising above the ordinary, rising above average, rising above normal. It's not about being perfect, it's about continuous improvement. Every project is an opportunity to get better, to refine your craft. And that's exactly what the journey of excellence is all about. It's a journey rather than a destination. Think about it. Each step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to where you want to be. But here's the catch. Perfectionism can often be the biggest roadblock to your growth. Perfectionism says you need to avoid mistakes at all costs, but that mindset actually traps you. Instead of progressing, you become stuck. You become paralyzed by the idea that everything needs to be flawless. The truth is, you'll never reach your full potential if you're obsessed with perfection. The key is taking action, even if it's not perfect, because progress always beats perfection. That doesn't mean you shouldn't care about quality. No. In fact, striving for excellence will push you to improve and refine your work. The difference is excellence is about growth and progress, while perfectionism keeps you in one place. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you immovable, chasing an unattainable ideal. That's what perfectionism does. You can't learn if you are not willing to make mistakes. And with each mistake comes a new opportunity to improve. So, as a writer, an artist, a creator, or whatever it is you do, your goal should be to aim for excellence, not perfection. Excellence keeps you moving forward, inching closer to your goals, while perfectionism just keeps you standing still. The more you chase perfection, the more time you waste waiting for the perfect moment to act. But when you embrace excellence, you create a system where progress is inevitable. And that's when your dreams begin to materialize. Slowly, yes, but surely. Excellence is it's personal. It's about setting your own standards, doing your best and improving bit by bit. Mistakes will happen, of course, but instead of letting them set you back, you use them as learning moments. And when you focus on creating work that adds value and fulfills its purpose, you realize that good enough can be good enough. I'm saying it again, good enough can be good enough. Here's the thing. Perfection is exhausting. I want this idea to sink into you, to sink into your mind, to sink into your consciousness. Perfection is exhausting. It's like chasing something that keeps moving just out of your reach. But excellence is sustainable. It's about showing up, doing your best, and focusing on what truly matters. So stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect idea, or the perfect plan, and take that first step. Keep moving, keep improving along the way, and enjoy the journey. The key to growth is progress, and as you move forward, you will inspire other people to do the same. But before you can embrace excellence fully, you will need to understand you need to dive into some practical ways to make it happen. And that's what we are going to do in the very next section. It's time to get practical. Now that we have set the stage for excellence, let's talk about how you can actively pursue it every single day. Number one, set reachable goals. By breaking your larger goals into smaller, more achievable tasks, this way you can focus on making steady progress rather than getting overwhelmed by the big picture.
Every small victory brings you closer to your ultimate goal. Instead of, fixating on this whole big picture that will take a whole lot for you to finally see the fulfillment or the manifestation of it. Instead, set reachable goals and just start the journey from there. So the second point, value yourself for who you are, not what you do. This is very important. You need to remind yourself regularly that you are worthy and valuable, regardless of how much you accomplish or how perfect your work is. This is a really big deal because for me, it's one of the things that is very difficult because sometimes I want to attach myself so much to what I do and get a sense of fulfillment from there. But I need to remind myself too that I'm valuable and worthy regardless of how much I perform, regardless of how much I accomplish. So now, when I'm trying to get things done, it's not from a place of, oh, I need to do this in order to prove myself. It's about the value that I want to impact to people. So I'm not trying to prove myself to anybody. I'm just trying to impact whatever knowledge I have that can help other people. Yeah. Regardless of how much you accomplish or how perfect your work is, value yourself and find yourself worthy. Because practicing self compassion helps you stay grounded and focused without feeling weighed down by unrealistic expectations. Number 3, keep moving after setbacks. How many perfectionists give up after making a mistake, after a hurdle, on the way, after a stone on the way? How many people give up and just say, "Oh well, let's just leave it"? You know, setbacks are a natural part of the process. That's the truth. When they happen, reflect on what went wrong, learn from it, and then make a small step forward every single day. Even if it's the tiniest action, that still counts. So don't give up. Don't ever give up. Don't let yourself get to a point where because things don't go the way you wanted to go, then you say, "Oh, I'm giving up. That's all I can do." No, don't be a loser. That's the definition of a loser. It's when you give up, you fall down and you stay down that you're a failure. You know, you're so afraid to fail, so you don't want to try. But even that itself is a form of failure. Okay, the fourth tip I have for you is learn from mistakes. It connects to the other one. Mistakes are not failures; they are opportunities to learn. Analyze what happened. Figure out what you can do differently next time, and apply that knowledge moving forward. Apply the knowledge moving forward. That's how you grow. And then finally, let go of past mistakes. Let go of your mistakes by journaling them. You can do that. It helps me process things. Process it and move forward. Focus on your next steps. That will help you avoid getting stuck in the past. So the sixth point I have for you is focus on effort, not just outcome. Celebrate the effort you put into your work. Even if the results isn't perfect, recognize how far you have come and celebrate that. Honor the growth you have made. Remember, excellence is about the journey, not necessarily just about the big picture. Now, I want to share something personal with you. It's the last story of this webinar. It shapes my journey towards excellence, and I want you to hear it. The only reason I'm here building this community on YouTube, despite the fact that I don't have everything in place, is because I was pushed to start. For years, I kept waiting for the perfect moment, thinking I needed the ideal setup, top tier cameras, the best microphone, and everything else in place before I could begin. But that moment never came because those things won't just come to you, it won't just fall on your lap. And I found myself stuck in a cycle of waiting. I was waiting for something that wasn't ever going to happen, and I wasn't getting any closer to my goals. Then I entered a mentorship program with Dr. Vivian Magnus, a mentor who truly changed my perspectives. One thing she drilled into me was simple but powerful. It's that I didn't need to wait for everything to be perfect before I started. The only thing that separated successful people from those who stay stuck was implementation. It wasn't about talent, it was about taking action. Instead of waiting for everything to align, I realized I needed to use the resources I already had and take the first step. Waiting for ideal conditions is just a trap. It's just a waste of time. So why not start with what you have available right now? No excuses. No excuses. You might not have everything, but that is okay. It is okay. And the focus should be on action, not perfection. Ask yourself, what do I have? What can I work with? Do I have time? If I don't have time, can I make time? And most importantly, what is the next step I can take, even if it's not from the perfect place? I know it's hard. It's hard to take the first step. It can be so scary. Taking this step on YouTube and everything else I've been doing lately is scary, trust me. But you have to start somewhere. The key to progress is simply beginning. In conclusion, please remember that judging yourself too harshly only holds you back. As a writer, an artist, or whatever profession you're currently in right now, you don't have to make massive leaps in every single project. Don't put yourself under that pressure. Excellence is about progress, step by step. And let's face it, if you keep waiting for perfection, you'll never share your work with the world. And the world needs your voice, it needs your art, your message. Mistakes will happen, setbacks will occur. But rather than letting them stop you, let them drive you to learn and grow. True excellence comes from this willingness to improve, to focus, and to persist. And sometimes good enough really is good enough. So if your work is valuable and impactful, then that's what matters. Stop obsessing over tiny details and start sharing your work. At the end of the day, excellence isn't about reaching an impossible standard, it's about progress. It's about purpose and the value you bring. The people who make a real difference aren't the ones who are chasing perfection. They're the ones who show up, do the work, and keep improving. Let go of perfection. Focus on what you can do now and trust that your journey will continue to unfold beautifully, because truly it will. It will continue to unfold. Now, if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Since this is a YouTube premiere, I'm right there watching this live with you, and I'm right there in the comment section ready to answer all your questions. So please take advantage of that. Send me all your questions and I'll answer it no matter how long it takes me. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you're ready to continue your journey of excellence, make sure to subscribe for more insights that will inspire positive change in your life. And if you want to be part of the Enlightened Writers community, the link is already in the description box below. This channel is about insights that lead to transformation. So don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the very next video. Bye.